Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new 2025 Kia K4 GT line. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. Honestly, the K4 has been my most anticipated vehicle to review for quite some time. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, Isaac, a little commuter Kia is your most anticipated vehicle to review?
Yeah.
But the reason it's my most anticipated vehicle is because in a world of pickup trucks and SUVs, I have seen more K4s on the road recently than I can count. And so I want to know, what's all the hype about? So let's find out together. I did not think I would ever live in a world where I would say the phrase I am about to say, but I do. This Kia K4 gives the Honda Civic and the Toyota Corolla a really good run for their money. Not only in price, but also features and the styling. This thing is fantastic looking. I think Kia knocked it out of the park design-wise. It's incredibly sharp, and recently I was at the New York International Auto Show and was able to see the new K4 hatchback unveiled. I did a walk-around video, I'll link that up top, and I think that looks fantastic as well. I'm very excited to see more of those out on the road as well. I think another thing that adds to the cool factor here is this exterior color. Kia calls it morning haze. Though I wish all of these auto manufacturers would be honest and say that matte grayish color that everybody's doing right now, because it seems like a color pretty similar to this is on just about every car now, though I do think it looks better than back in the early 2000s when every car was that dark pine green or pewter gold. I think we've come a long way in car colors. Anyway, starting out up front below the new Kia logo, and I think this Kia logo is doing a lot of work. I don't think people realize part of Kia's brand identity transformation really comes from the fact that this logo looks a lot sharper and cooler than their outgoing one. But moving below that, you'll have a front camera, and there are parking sensors incorporated into the front fascia, and then you'll also have a sensor down here for the safety system this is equipped with. That works in conjunction with a camera at the top of the windshield. And let's talk about these headlights, probably the most striking design element on the K4. You'll have these amber LED daytime running lights and this really cool design for the actual LED headlights themselves. I think it looks fantastic. What do you guys think? Moving underneath the hood, there are two engine options available for the K4. A 2-liter 4-cylinder making 147 horsepower, and that's paired to a CVT. That is the base engine, but in this K4, it's equipped with the upgraded 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, making 190 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. And that CVT is traded in for an 8-speed automatic transmission. As for fuel economy, the EPA rates the K4 Turbo at 26 miles per gallon in the city and 36 on the highway, with 29 miles per gallon combined. And in my testing this week, I averaged a surprising 34.4 miles per gallon. Moving to the profile of the K4, starting here with the wheels and tires, you'll get 235 40R tires around these gloss black 18-inch wheels. Those pair nicely with the other gloss black trim on the lower portion of the fascia here and up here on the mirror caps. There are also some other accents around there. Look, it's a little spider. Hello, spider. You'll have a camera right here for the 360-degree camera. There is a turn signal indicator. Thanks, the little spider's being my Vanna White. Now he's running away. He's a bit shy. But you'll get a turn signal indicator right there. You also do have blind spot monitoring incorporated into the mirrors, and they are power adjusting. You'll also get keyless entry here. And as we move to the rear, what's interesting is you'll notice doesn't look like there's a door handle right here. That's because it's hidden a little bit higher up right here for the rear seat occupants. My guess is they couldn't figure out a way to incorporate this swoop and a door handle that worked functionally down there, so they've moved it up top. But it's a neat design element. Also here, while we're on the side, it almost looks like you get a panoramic moonroof here, though it is just a regular sunroof. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we move to the interior. At first glance, most may be forgiven for thinking this is a hatchback, because a lot of vehicles nowadays have done this sort of faux sedan look where the rear here opens up as one piece and it's actually a hatchback. But here on the K4, this is a sedan. The hatchback is very distinguished from this in appearance. But here on the rear, you'll get these amazing LED taillights, a backup camera, your K4 badge, GT line badge. You'll have some parking sensors down here, and then the button to open up the trunk here. Lifting this up, you have oodles of room. That is the official industry term amongst us journalists. Oodles. There is so much space back here, and you do have the ability to drop the second row seats for even more storage. Perhaps you want to fit a TV back there or some lumber. You could do it in your K4. And then there's no button to close this, but you can just pull this tab and drop it back down. Before we move to the interior, I just wanted to highlight the key fob quick. Here on the GT line, this does have some features. There we go, focus on. It says Kia here on the side, but the buttons are actually over here. You'll get lock, unlock, panic. You can open the trunk from the key, which is always nice. And then on the other side, you have remote start, which is also always nice to see. This is a very well equipped little sedan. Let's move to the interior. Hey guys, jumping in here real quick before we move to the interior, just to say I am trying to hit 40,000 subscribers before the end of this year. So if you like what you see so far, hitting the subscribe button would really help me out. But if you want to wait a little bit longer, suss me out a little bit more, see my impressions on the interior or the driving aspects of the car, that's okay too. In any case, if you decide to subscribe, thank you so much. All right, now back to the video. Moving to the interior of the K4, where the viability of this to pull buyers away from the Civic and the Corolla continues. Starting here on the door panel, this is nice soft touch material here, as is this down here. I like the little two-tone trim you get here. That's accented throughout the rest of this interior, and underneath there's actually some interior lighting. You also get that across the dash right here. I'll cut to some nighttime video so you can see this interior lighting a little bit better, but it's very nice. And then moving down here, you will get your window controls, lock, unlock, your mirror controls, your lighting controls for the digital gauge cluster screen. Then you'll have your electronic parking brake right here, traction control off, and then the front hood release. Up here by the door handle, you'll have your heated and cooled seat button. You'll also have your memory seat settings. These seats are very comfortable, and they do have power adjustment alongside power lumbar support. And then moving to the steering wheel, this is a very unique design. Kia's logo is not in the middle, it's a little off to the side. It sort of reminds me of kind of like a stormtrooper, but it's very comfortable. It's a nice steering wheel, very grippy. You'll have paddle shifters, and then you'll have your controls right here to scroll through some of the settings on this digital gauge cluster screen. Not a ton of customization. I wish there was a little bit more that you could cycle through here, but you get the basics. The stuff that you need is displayed, and it is laid out fairly well. And then down here, you'll have this button for drive mode. You just tap that and you can go between normal and sport. Though, I wish this had some sort of like really cool change in the gauge cluster display, as some other Kia and Hyundai models have had in the past when you're changing into sport mode, especially since it is a screen, though that's a very minor nitpick. You'll also have your radar guided cruise control settings right here, and then the Bluetooth, volume, and channel changing settings over here. Now this is interesting because you'd think you're gonna get like 2 screens here. You have your digital gauge cluster screen and your infotainment, but you actually get 3. Hidden sort of behind the steering wheel here is a separate 3rd screen for your climate controls. You can adjust them from here. I think it's very interesting. You can raise and lower stuff from here, but it's sort of out of your line of sight as the driver. It's almost always blocked by the steering wheel right here. And so I just think that's maybe not ideal. And thankfully, Kia was also noticing that, but they still wanted to include it. They've given you physical climate controls down here for your temperature adjustment, fan speed, and then also your mode. So where it's coming out of, you get these buttons down there. Really, really appreciate that. I think that's laid out quite well. You also have physical buttons up here for your media, and you don't have volume knobs in here. You do have this like scroll wheel for the volume, and then you also have a scroll wheel here. So hope you like scroll wheels, because that's your option to turn the volume up and down here on the K4. Moving into the infotainment screen itself, this is very responsive. It's a very quick screen. You get stuff like weather. You of course have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto availability, which is very, very nice. I would say though, it can sometimes get a little bit confusing with so many settings in this screen. For example, I wanted to see if I could change the ambient lighting color. I assumed they gotta have an option to change it. It can't just be one color. So I went in and I said, okay, what am I gonna do? Oh, setup, okay. And I went, all right, where would it be? Maybe display? No, blue light filter? No, it's not that. Maybe it's in general? Oh no, I don't see anything in here. And I searched throughout this menu, and I'll admit, I eventually had to Google it. And I do this, right? I review cars for a living, and I had to Google where to get to it. Turns out it's in vehicle, and in vehicle, it's in lights, and then lights, ambient lighting. There's a lot of menus you got to jump through, and I just didn't notice the vehicle tab, or I had missed the lighting tab within that if I had clicked in. It's just a little bit complicated sometimes, but you know, obviously there is a lot of customization with the ambient lights. For example, you can even set kind of your own color, whatever you want. It's got all the colors of the wind. All right, I think I'll stick to reviewing cars and not pursue anything on Broadway or Musically ever. There are quite a few things for you to be able to customize. So if you want a lot of options, this gives you a ton. Now, if I put my foot on the brake and throw this thing into reverse, you can see there is a very nice backup camera with guiding lines that turn with the K4. You also get this great top-down view, again with guiding lines that turn. And if that wasn't enough, if you click this guy right over here, it's going to give us a 360-degree view that we can move of the actual car. That is the live view of it. That's exactly what is behind me, and I think that is fantastic. You can move the car in this. The wheels will turn, and you know, I'm backing up here and the little wheels are moving. It's a very, very neat system, and I think it works just fantastic. This isn't the only car that has it. A lot of Hyundai models also have this, and I've recently seen it added to BMWs, and I suspect more manufacturers will have this in due time. But I think it's really, really cool, and especially cool to see on this Kia that's only a little over 31,000. It's just nice to have all the cool features in here. And now, speaking of cameras, forgot to mention this a little earlier. This is a feature that has been advertised pretty widely in the past couple of years, but this K4 has it, and I will sing its praises. When you turn the turn signal on, the blind spot camera in the mirror will activate on either side, and it will show you if somebody's in your blind spot. You also do have the blind spot sensor right there, so you kind of have a double blind spot warning. It's a freaking double blind spot warning. You'll have USB-Cs, and then pushing this little button right here will reveal a 12 volt. And then you'll have wireless charging down here, push button start, the aforementioned shifter. You have auto hold, so if you have it in drive, you just want to tap this, it'll hold you at a light. And then parking sensors, your rear parking sensors, you want to turn those off. And then your camera button right here, you can turn that off and on. And then down here, you have 2 cup holders, and they're massive, right? They're so big, you could fit any size bottle in here. But if you wanted to put a smaller drink in here, you could just tap that and it will flip out, and then wah, tap it again. The last time I reviewed a K4, I did a walk around for the hatchback at the New York Auto Show. I said, this is sort of like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, except they don't actually touch, so it's not like Rock'em Sock'em Robots at all. But it's sort of fun, you know, if you're bored in a parking lot and you want something to do, you can just keep tapping that. And I think that'll honestly give you probably more enjoyment and fun than you would have expected for a longer period than you would have expected. But I digress. Moving on, you'll have a little storage area there in this center console. And then up here, you'll have a standard mirror with manual dimming, your LED dome lights. And then this has a standard sunroof, though when you hit the button to fully open it, it's actually going to completely raise the roof up. Yeah, this car raises the roof. But I think that's a neat design aspect as well, and it also adds to the cool factor of it. In spite of this just being a pretty regular sized sunroof, I appreciate that it's there. For the most part, though, that wraps up the interior for the front end. Let's take a look at the back seats. Moving to the rear seats of the K4, they are slightly less refined than up front, but that tends to be what happens in this segment of vehicle. This is all hard touch plastic up here, though this still is soft touch down there for you to rest your arm. There's no storage on the driver's seat back here, but you do have a little storage pouch on the passenger seat in the rear. You get climate vents, which is always a welcome addition, 2 USB-Cs and a little storage area, which that is very nice. And then you can fold this down for a little armrest with cup holders. That's also very comfortable. And I would say I'm 5'9". I mean, I would say that's how tall I am. I can't lie about this because I'm giving all of you guys recommendations about car interiors, so I am 5'9". But I would say I have maybe 3 or 4 inches of legroom, and then about an inch and a half of headroom. I fit back here very comfortably, and I think 4 averagely sized adults would fit in this car quite well. Though, you know, if you wanted to bring kids along, you could definitely fit someone here in the center seat or fully across the back. It's probably going to be a little bit more comfortable for smaller folks. But this is a smaller car in general. I'm just impressed that you do get some amenities back here, but it makes sense. Not everything's going to be soft touch back here in this lower segment car. But let's take this thing for a spin and see how it drives. All right, driving the Kia K4. This has some pretty responsive steering. The handling around corners is nice. It's very comfortable. The acceleration isn't superb. It's okay. If I gun it here in normal, it picks up okay. Now, admittedly, if I put this into sport, this tends to really start picking up a little bit more, though it's not necessarily a sports car. I think this Kia K4 is very capable with its little turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, but it's not going to be winning any land speed records anytime soon. It'll definitely get you where you need to go, and it'll do that very comfortably, especially with the heated and cooled seats, but it's not particularly standout in its performance. It runs fine, but I think a lot of people are really more concerned about the fuel economy of something like this, and this does have pretty good fuel economy. This is a very well-equipped car that comes with a lot of great luxury comforts for a very affordable price, all things considered. And if this GT line is perhaps still out of the budget, there are K4s that are much more affordable than this. This is honestly one of the most affordable cars on the market right now with its starting base model, and that's still a great offering. If you're looking for a small sedan or soon-to-be hatchback, I think this K4 is very, very compelling. It does a lot of what the Civic and the Corolla do, but I'd argue it does it with a little bit more pizzazz. And that's probably why I've seen so many K4s out on the road recently. It makes sense that these cars would be selling so well. They're good looking and they offer a lot of the same things that have sort of become boring in some of the competitors. And Kia really knew what they were doing with this car. I recently did a video on the Kia Soul, and I mentioned how impressed I was with Kia's brand turnaround. In fact, I got a haircut yesterday, and the hairstylist said, "Oh my gosh, can you believe how crazy it is, how much Kia has changed?" I did not bring Kia up to this woman at all, and she mentioned it. And I was like, no way, literally, I gotta talk about this, right? And it's crazy because clearly out in the general public, people are seeing Kia really has improved their game, not only with their styling, but also the reliability. The powertrain warranty you get with a car like this is very good, and it's something that's finally desirable, and I have just been really impressed by that. And so I talked at a little bit more length in that Kia Soul video, so I won't belabor the point here, but I'm impressed, I'll say that much. All right, last thing I wanted to talk about, this does have the ability to do self-driving. It's fairly basic, but when you tap the radar-guided cruise control with the lane keeping assist, this also has the option to steer you in your lane and keep you in your lane. And it's pretty neat. It's crazy, you know, going around a corner, it's going around a corner here. It's doing it all by itself. Though you have to keep your eyes on the road with this type of self-driving, so there's not a ton that you can do. Like, you can have your hands up, you can go like this, I suppose. If you want to really get into your favorite Michael Bolton song, I guess you could do that. I think eventually the technology will get there where it's able to fully self-drive and you can look away or you can do other things, and there might be more useful practicality with that. But as for now, it's sort of just a fun party trick. And personally, I don't really activate it that often, but it is there if you'd want it. Well, that's just about gonna wrap up my review of the Kia K4. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hitting the subscribe button and liking the video would really help my channel out. I'd really appreciate that. Before I go, I'd like to mention that I am a Christian, and if you have any prayer requests, I would love to be able to pray for you. You can leave those in the comment section below. And lastly, I like to close out with a scriptural reading. This week, I'm in the book of Psalms, chapter 67, verse 1. May God be merciful and bless us. May his face shine with favor upon us. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. And remember, no matter what vehicle you drive, I hope it lasts you a long time and it serves you well. Take care.